Today we got to talk about Cade Klubnik, who has announced his commitment to Clemson University. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill, and no, I am not in the studio because, well, Cade Klubnik decided to pull the trigger on committing to Clemson on this Tuesday night. It means that Clemson has a plan for the succession of DJ Uiagalelei. He was a 5-star prospect and one of the best players in the 2020 class after Trevor Lawrence announced that he was going to enter the NFL draft and is probably going to be the first overall pick in the NFL draft in just over, 2 months' time. But now with Cade Klubnik on board, that means that Dabo Swinney has secured a 4-star prospect and a 2-time state champion quarterback at Austin Westlake. He is one of the best quarterbacks in this class, as you might understand and know. But more than that, his Austin Westlake squad was able to beat South Lake Carroll. South Lake Carroll was quarterbacked by the number 1 player in the 2022 class, Quinn Ewers. He is also the 6th ever 1.000 rated player in the history of rankings, which means that he's in there with the likes of Jadeveon Clowney, Ernie Sims, Vince Young, Robert Kimdichie. You understand, it's a very big deal. So for a guy like Cade Klubnik to lead his squad to a state championship victory in the state championship game against a player of that caliber and, quite frankly, an outstanding squad in South Lake Carroll, you can come to understand how the folks at Clemson have to be fired up about what they are getting in Cade Klubnik. This is a man who showed a lot of his arsenal in that game where he led them to a state championship. He's great running with the ball. He's got tremendous arm mechanics. I don't know about perhaps the arm talent because I just want to see him uncork it a little more often and a little bit further downfield. But when I look at the dude, I see a guy who reminds me a lot of Colin Kaepernick in the way that he plays the game and the way that he can take off and run with the ball in his hands, but also with a really striking delivery that just, I think, is going to get a little bit better as he gets a little fine-tuned. We know what Brandon Streeter is capable of as the quarterback's coach at Clemson, and I'm excited to see what he looks like if Tony Elliott is there around, the same time he gets an opportunity to compete for the starting job. But I got to give it up to Clemson for closing the deal on this quarterback in, not February, March 1st. I don't know why I said February. But on March 1st, because you are able to build around that quarterback. This is how you separate as a top 5 recruiting class. This is how you separate down the line when it comes time to stack recruits during the season. If you don't have a quarterback in the boat by May, you're going to be up against it. Look at Oklahoma, who secured a commitment on the same day as Clemson, but is falling down the ladder when it comes to the rankings after being as high as number 5. Clemson clawing back. Dabo Swinney continues to do an outstanding job on the recruiting trail, closing with these kiddos. I'm amazed that he's able to get these kinds of blue chip prospects to follow because it doesn't always feel like you're going to get a shot. Take a look at Chase Bryce, who decided to transfer to Duke last year, only to transfer to Appalachian State this year. Hunter Johnson, a 5-star prospect, pushed out and ends up at Northwestern. All this because Trevor Lawrence came in, proved that he was good enough to win the job, and then take the job from Kelly Bryant in 2018 and lead Clemson to an undefeated 15-0 season with what is one of the greatest college football teams of all time, and then took an L to one of the other greatest college football teams of all time in LSU, right? A 29-game win streak to that point. Klubnik is bringing with him a winning pedigree and ability to make those wins travel. When you talk about magic, when you talk about quarterback wins, when you talk about what do you need to have to be a Power 5 starter, I think that is what you're looking at. One of the things that we get into discussions about is how quarterback wins, like wins is not a quarterback stat. Ask Lincoln Riley about that. It's one of the first things that he mentions when he says, when I'm recruiting a quarterback, the big arm doesn't really matter all that much. What I care about is the guy a winner? Because if he won where he was, he will probably win here. You cannot teach winning. You cannot teach a winning environment if that is not already what you are fostering. And you want to bring in players that understand the magnitude of the situation. And you also want to bring in players that have a thirst and a hunger for what they're going to do. One of the things that I've always been really interested in figuring out is how Nick Saban, Dabo Swinney, even Ed Orgeron are able to recruit players who don't look at past accomplishments, but also want to go out there and win something for themselves. They want that ring for themselves. You don't want to be the class that didn't win a national championship either. I mean, you take a look at what Saban has built there. Every kiddo that has stayed for at least 3 years has won a national championship at Alabama. Perhaps Clemson will get to say something of the sort with this class that is going to lead them into this 2021 season. And this is also at a time when we're expecting to see some really outstanding quarterback play. 2 of the top 10 quarterbacks of the last 20 years in Max Preps' analysis, DJ Uiagalelei and Bryce Young, are projected Power 5 starters for national title contenders. Klubnik wants to join in that, and I am really excited to see what he can do, and I'm excited to see how they're able to build around his commitment in the weeks and months to come. What Dabo continues to do at South Carolina, or in South Carolina, I should say, continues to just impress me, because Clemson it ain't a blue blood, right? It's not the kind of place that you would think of as competing with the likes of Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, LSU, Oklahoma, and yet there they are each and every year, because the backbone of their program is recruiting outstanding players and then retaining those players for an extended amount of time. You don't see a whole bunch of kiddos going into the transfer portal out of Clemson, but when you do, we all pay attention because of how rare it is and the caliber of player that is usually going into the portal. Congratulations to Clemson fans. I know how you must feel right now. Excited and celebrating. Go gloat about it for a little while.